Mad Sound.
You're listening to Mad Sound Radio. And now, here's your host, Charlie John.
Hey everyone, welcome to Mad Sound Radio. This is episode number 7. I'm your host, Charlie John. This is the show where we talk with musicians about what goes into their craft, the stories behind the songs, and much, much more. Today's guest is singer-songwriter and cruise ship musician, Bradley Osborne. We go into a lot with Brad here today. It was a really good talk. I hope you enjoy it. This is episode number 7 of Mad Sound Radio with Brad Osborne.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You just gotta keep it to what you need, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you, man? You're on break right now from any kind of boat or cruise ship line.
The ship lines, yes.
The ship line musician, Brad Osborne.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. At the moment I'm doing a lot of ships, as you know, and I'm on a nice break. Yeah. From I just did a 3-month contract on P&O Iona.
Okay. Oh wow!
And it's one of their latest and greatest ships, Iona, and it's really nice. A very British cruise line, obviously. And,
how big is it?
It's huge. It's one of the largest cruise ships in the world. I think it's possibly top 10. I think.
Wow!
It's like 7,000. I think. So it's like 5,000 guests and 2,000 crew, roughly. That's the general size
insane.
of it. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah. Biggest you've done, right?
Yes, that is the largest ship I've been on. Yeah, that I've worked on, and I've been on full stop. And it is, I think, like Royal Caribbean, they tend to have sort of the top 5 largest ships, kind of thing.
Right. Oh wow.
And yeah, so it's quite a thing to be in. I think it's probably top 10.
Yeah,
there's not many.
How often are you, like, how many times a week are you playing?
Yeah, so the position I do with P&O is slightly different from different cruise lines, but the thing I do is 6 nights a week, and it's between 1 and 4 sets a night.
Right.
Usually in the evening, like after 6 p.m, sort of, maybe you might start like around 7 and go till around midnight. That would be like you'd get 4 sets in that time. But,
wow. And that's 7 a week, 7 nights a week?
6 nights a week. But
6 nights a week. Okay.
Like I say, that it's usually at least 1 or 2 of those nights are 1 set. And when you do 1 set, it feels like a day off. And it could be like a 30-minute set. It's just like really nice. Yeah. And then there's always really nice. A night or 2 where you'll do 2 sets and 3 sets, you know. So it's not like you're doing, So you might do 4, maybe 2 or 3 nights, you know. And
so 4 sets is just 4 half hours, right? Or 4 45 minutes?
Yeah, if it's 4 sets, it's normally like 2 30-minute ones and maybe 2 45-minute ones. That would be a 4 set night.
Yeah. And if you're used to doing longer shows, the 1 half-hour set a night is just like so nice. It must be so nice. Yeah.
Oh man, when you look on, like, the night before, you get the band sheet and it's got all the schedule for all the musicians, and you're looking down it and you're like, oh my gosh, 30 minutes tomorrow, amazing. So just working for 30 minutes.
Amazing.
And that feels like a day off, like I say.
Totally. It's weird. So for anybody who doesn't know you, I've only known you to be in completely with as a cruise ship musician. That's as long as I've known you. That's all you've pretty much been doing. And then when you have time off, you do some things here and there, right?
Yeah. So before the cruise ship thing, I guess if I start from the beginning instead of working backwards, first thing of note, I guess, is that I went to ACM to do a music business degree. So ACM's the Academy of Contemporary Music, which is based in Guildford, just like south of London. So I went there for like a 2-year course, and during my first year, I started a band, and with a fellow business student, and we like started co-writing, and we were like 20 at the time, so we started writing these songs and formed this band with like his sister came in, and then we got like a drummer and a bass player from the academy, and we were all quite good friends and stuff. And we, long of the short, we got management, ended up doing some really cool things, working with Columbia Records, and
wow, so you guys were doing it.
Yeah, we really did it. We licensed our music out to different labels. We went touring firstly around like the UK and then all around Europe. Then we went out to Japan, then went out to the States. And it was cool. It was good. We were making a bit of noise, you know. We were like championed by Steve Lamacq, the DJ. This is like 15 plus years ago. We got some like spot plays on Radio 1 and Radio 2 and XFM and all this. So we were making a bit of a noise.
That's pretty huge, man. To get and this is all with original stuff.
Yeah, all original.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was like an indie pop band, Winter Kids.
And you were the head of it, the lead.
No, so James, my friend from the ACM, James, he was the lead vocal.
Oh, okay.
And so we would write together, and then we'd all write as a band when we formed the band completely. So I was sort of a key songwriter, sort of secondary vocals, BVs and like counterparts and stuff like that, and all the guitars. And then we had, like, that made up quite a big part of the sound. Then we had Hannah, his sister, on the keyboard and piano, and that sort of made up quite a big part of the sound as well. The sort of came out as like an indie new wave synthy sound. And then we put on like...
What was the name of the band, and are you guys still out? Like, do you have stuff still available? Because I'd be interested.
Yeah, so we're called Winter Kids.
Winter Kids.
And I think you can probably like hear some stuff online and on, you know, if you search it out, you can hear like our EPs that we had and an album that we had that was, good times.
That's impressive, man. I'll tell you what, getting on Radio 1 and all that stuff when you're just starting out in a band, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
So
really
were you like multi-instrumentalist back then, playing piano and guitar and stuff? Yeah.
So a little bit. So like I was doing all the guitar stuff. That's always been my sort of first discipline, if you like. And it's really fun. And I was playing, I think I was like playing a little bit of piano and stuff here and there, maybe like mainly in the studio, not live, because obviously Hannah had that covered, but maybe like when we were writing, I think I'd get on the piano or the keys and things, maybe even jump on the drum kit now and then.
Always fun.
Yeah. And I do remember live one time I was playing violin, and I'm not a violinist by any stretch. I just bought a violin and was like, because we wanted that sound, so I just bought it and learned what I needed to learn to do it, kind of thing.
Right, just kind of figuring it out on the fly.
So I just looked on YouTube how to play the violin, kind of thing, and figured it out, and then was playing it on stage now and then.
That's still pretty cool. That's really cool. And so how long did that last? That band?
Sort of 5 to 6 years. We were doing that, and we were like practically. We had this sort of rehearsal space where we were kind of like living together in this sort of house, which was part of like James's parents' place originally, but then we were kind of living in this separate part near Guildford, and that became our sort of base really, because that's where we used to hang out and practice. We had our like rehearsal space there permanently set up, so we'd all like live in that space really. It was nice. Cool. It was nice and roomy, you know. We had rooms and stuff. So we'd do that. And
who broke up the band? Who broke
up the band?
Yeah.
Do you know, I think it's that classic thing of when you start a band, like you're 20, I think Hannah was like 17 or something, and then by the time, you know, you get to like, in my case, 26, you're all different, very, very different people. And we'd learned like that, you know, it works in cycles. It's like we'd we'd done sort of like a cycle with our first single, and then a bigger, longer cycle with the EP, and then an even longer one with the album, and it had taken us like 6 years. And it's like, okay, do we reinvest our time and energy and finances to do like another, it could be another 3 or 4 years,
right?
Or do we stop? And so I think it got to that point where everyone was a bit hesitant all of a sudden, like,
sure.
There were some things going on in the band as well, like creative differences and all that. Like I say, you're quite different people, and
okay.
And it was, it was time for a change, and change.
I feel like that's the age when those creative differences start to happen. Maybe with people, they start to like fork out on their own road. Maybe,
yeah, exactly. I think we were all feeling a bit like, this has been fun, but we've all got our own influences now, and like,
right.
I mean, personally, I would have stuck at it. I was actually up for going in again and doing another cycle and pushing that product and that project further. And I still believe like it could have been really quite big, that project.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but the vision that some of the band members had just didn't look like that. We couldn't get our heads together on it, if you like. So
right.
I think
so. Yeah, I get that. So were your influences like in that indie pop world?
A bit, yeah. Like I think, I remember. So like I was really, I always listened to like the Blur and Oasis stuff growing up. So I think I got a lot from that, and like the Blue Tones, I think they were called. All these kind of like Brit pop guitar-y bands,
right?
Which had some really good songwriting behind it,
Right, for sure, yeah.
The guys that were like in the top 10 in the UK. So I think I had that influence, and like The Cure, and obviously going back further, like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. That's where it started for me. So they were like the influences. And then around that time, there was a lot of like emo stuff coming over from the States that we were getting into, like the My Chemical Romance and that kind of stuff.
So, okay, well, did you prefer British or American? Like, was it just like whatever band sounded good, had good songwriting, production, all that?
I think, for me, I didn't know too much about American alternate music. It was a lot of like pop stuff coming over, R&B and stuff when I was growing up, which was really cool. I used to enjoy listening to like the songwriting again and the production, but my style was more based in like the British Britpop sound, I would say, sort of indie thing. And then I think when we were doing the band, there was more, like with social media opening up and things, there was like more ways to discover American music, that kind of indie new wave thing, and it was like amazing to hear it all. I think I remember speaking to a producer that we were working with, and he said like with British music in the studio, you sit there and you kind of listen to the song and go, what can we add to make it sound better? Whereas in the States, you sit there and you go, what can we take away to make it sound better?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I just as a producer, which you are as well, I mean, it's a lot of just throwing stuff in there, and then at the end we're just like, well, let's take a bunch of stuff out now, because that was a lot. That was way too much.
Yeah, it can be fun, can't it, doing that?
Yeah, some of that is the most fun part about music production. But I do want to take like a little sidestep now, and you mentioned the Beatles. Have you heard the new stuff? The new song and. Yeah, they just had a Then and Now track released, didn't they? It's called, and it's nice. And I feel like that's sort of not meant to necessarily compete with their material, their sort of historic catalogue, but is like a nice kind of like, oh, what do you know? There's another song that no one heard. Yeah, it is like, I mean, I'm not I don't. Beatles were. I mean, I respect them for everything they've done, obviously, but I don't think they really got me into music. It was more like John Mayer and those guys back then. Yeah. But I heard this song, and I've heard people say it sounds more like a John track than a full Beatles song.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I kind of agree with that. The Beatles have untouchable songs, like as far as songwriting goes, so you can't really, mess with that. But but yeah, songs okay. It's good. It's serviceable, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel interesting with having his vocals on there and all that. And
I feel the same. Yeah, like you say, it's serviceable. That's a good way of putting it.
It's not groundbreaking. I mean,
no. Yeah, it sounds. I agree. Actually, it does sound like a John song. And I think, did they do some like wizardry with the audio to like pull the vocal away from the piano? I think.
Yeah, I think that's why they had to wait this long. Because now which is pretty much, they used AI to pull his voice off of the piano, because it was a piano demo with just his voice at a piano, and then but yeah, I mean, I honestly feel like they made this song just for themselves, you know what I mean? Like but a lot of people like it. If you're into the Beatles, I think a lot of them liked it and they were happy to have it and all that stuff. But I was thinking about all that, and I was watching some documentaries. We watched the Now and Then 12-minute documentary thing, me and my wife did, and it was really good. And I like hearing Paul talk about music. You know what I mean? It's interesting stuff. But yeah, it's just a weird time to have a Beatles as a number one song in 2023.
Tell me about it. It is pretty random, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like somewhere in the back of my mind, I sort of always knew they would have another hit somehow, because there's all this talk of you know, these hidden songs that aren't released and all this. But yeah, it is crazy, and it's amazing that what AI is doing. Actually, it's amazing that that's enabled such a thing to happen.
Yeah,
you know,
it's I was talking with my dad the other day, who's also a music producer, and we were like, I don't think AI is really going to take over anything creatively. Like, it can kind of do things that I don't like doing as an indie artist, you know. But as far as, I've used those AI things on the internet where it can come up with the first track of a song, like it could literally produce a song for you, and it's just like, well, I wouldn't have done that really.
Yeah.
What about, have you ever messed with any of that stuff?
I mean, only a tiny amount when like a year or so ago, when it was all like, oh, AI. I went on to those websites that popped up, probably the same kind of ones you're talking about, where you can like build tracks out and things. And I feel like it will happen. Like, I actually think it's going to be more groundbreaking than a lot of creatives think. I'm more on that camp. I think it could be quite a powerful thing. But I haven't really had time to venture too far into those things, but they do look interesting. I think with me, like a big sort of a lifelong lesson I'm learning, and I say this a lot, is like to just relinquish control. And I feel like that's a part of it. So like me going on that website was like, it took a whole load of control away from it. I think that's why I was like, I don't know about this.
Right.
But I think it probably ultimately would be a better final product if I'm not involved.
Could be, but and there's also parts of in Logic, at least, you know, when I go to master, like, I'm not a mastering engineer. There's parts of what I use in my mastering stuff that is AI. Yeah. You know, with Ozone and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I relinquish control to after I mix it. It's just, all right, go make it sound loud and great, do all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and they're really good. I use Lander.
Lander, man, I get those emails all the time, and I feel like they're like almost industry standard.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, and it's. Yeah. I mean, it brings it very close. You know, I can't imagine someone who really amazing would put their ears to it and could improve it, but I feel like it's such a slim splitting of the different kind of situation with things like Lander and Ozone, like you say. They're so good.
And I feel like, so now if everyone has the same ability to make it all their songs as loud as possible, like, the differential is just what your ear wants, like what your personal taste is, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think especially with how, you know,
it's all about sort of attention, and artists in particular seem to be releasing more often. You know, we're all content creators, aren't we? And we're all putting content out regularly, or is the idea at least. So I feel like with that as well, I feel like in a way, you know, these standout songs aren't going to be such a thing.
Right.
So it's like that difference doesn't really matter so much anyway as it used to.
Yeah. It's just, it's making it just easier for everyone to do, so that everyone can do it. So then the bar is now up there.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do want to go back to how you got from the band to working on cruise lines. Like, what is that jump like? How long did it take?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so the band stopped. That was an amazing experience, obviously. And then I basically came away from it, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to do a solo thing. I still want to do music, you know. Don't want to go and get a 9 to 5 or anything like the guys in the band basically did. Wow. Okay. It's just like, no, I don't. I always saw that as like I was in that forever kind of thing. So I came away and did some solo stuff, and I actually worked with the band's management for a little while on this sort of solo project. But it just, I don't know why, but I think creatively I just perhaps wasn't sure enough of what it was and needed a bit more time to really refine things. So actually what I did in the meantime as well was I started teaching like guitar lessons to keep me going. And then a bit of a tangent really. So like this whole time I've been doing my own music and enjoying that. And I think that's a success in itself really, to like create something that you're happy with. And then if you're, you know, so happy with it that you want other people to hear it, great. But over the next sort of 5 years or so, I was teaching, and then I got into different schools where I was teaching. And I thought, right, I'll step back from that and use those contacts to like create an agency where I can put teachers in schools, and I won't have to come into school all the time and doing these lessons. Right. And it actually worked. It took a bit of like bravado, you know, but I sort of made it work and put this little business together, and the schools sort of took the bite, if you like, and they wanted to continue working with me, I think, because I'd given them a good reputation through me. So I did that, and then did that for a while. Right. But then when like COVID came around, I wasn't really enjoying that, and like the music I'd been writing and I'd been like gigging around. I'd done like loads of like hundreds of gigs all in like Kent and London, and so I was still very much a musician, but like nothing much was happening. And I think I was getting snowed under with like how to market music, and like, you know how big all that stuff can get.
Sure. Yeah.
So then when like COVID came around, you know, it made me stop, because to be honest I was starting to run myself into the ground a bit really, and like losing sight of things. So it made me stop, which was a real blessing for me personally. And I basically like threw away the keys to that business kind of thing. I just like sold it off to one of my teachers. Right. I was just like, I'm done with that, because I've just actually done a bit. And then I was like, okay, COVID's here, what do I do? So I started like, I was watching things on YouTube and seeing these cruise ship musicians and thinking, oh my gosh, although that's not really my bigger vision, that would be such a cool thing, such a fun thing right now for me to be doing. Right. And so I just did some research around like, what would I do? And the first big thing for me to realise that I could possibly do that was realising that most ships have what they call a guitar vocalist position. And I was like, because I'm not much of a reader, and I didn't want to like be a reader and be in the play, in the theatre. I was like, I don't really want to do that. I'd rather be on a stage or something. So then I put together like a little show reel of like, you know, the kinds of things I was playing in the pubs and clubs around Kent where I live. popular songs, classics that people sing along to, and like really popular, super well-known songs from like the 50s to current day, really, and put it all together into like a little 5-minute thing, and then I sent that out with my CV, like what I'd been up to and all that stuff. Sent it out to like all these different agents that I could find in relation to that part of the industry,
right?
Ones that book ships and those kinds of things.
Which there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, there's loads. There's actually loads, and you know, for a while, like all through COVID, nothing came of it. They would come back and say, oh yeah, like obviously you did a big thing with the ships, like it completely stopped the ships for a while. But when they were sort of coming back, most of these agents were just like, yeah, that's great, we'll put you on our books and we'll let you know, thumbs up kind of thing, and that was it. And then I'd be like doing my thing, knocking on their door a little bit, giving them an email once a week saying, so any news kind of thing. And they'd just always be like, no, nothing. And to be honest, it got to the point where I just internally I actually gave up. And it's funny because I relinquished control again, like within myself. I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna do something else for a minute, forget that. And then it was like, it was at that point that one of the agents came forward and messaged me on WhatsApp and was like, can you do a guest ents position as guitar vocalist on Virtuoso, which is an amazing ship, like next month.
Oh wow.
And I just was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Like, what?
Yeah.
And so the agency, one of the agents reached out to me soon after I was like, oh, I think I'm done with this idea because nothing's happening. I'm spinning my wheels, sort of thing.
Right.
And you know, like so many things, because there's just so many things that you try, right? And just most of it doesn't come to fruition. I just was like, I think that might be another one of those things. But then one of the agents messaged me and was like, can you do this guest ents position on MSC Virtuoso, which is an amazing ship? And I jumped at it. And that was the start of my sort of cruise ship career, if you like.
Right.
And I wanted it to be that because I very much felt like I really need like a new experience.
Right.
I would love travel. Obviously, I love performing music. I love ships. These amazing luxury cruise ships are just amazing. So it was like
so was that still in 2020?
So I think my first ship was. It was like 2022. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like April.
Got it.
22, I think. So all through, that's what I mean, all through COVID, I was like trying, and obviously.
So they were just coming back, and you were like knocking on their door,
trying to get exactly, because it's fierce competition anyway. And I knew though that the fact that it had taken a big hit, like this is, when there's something negative, there's always opportunity.
Right.
So the fact that it had taken that big hit meant, like, I knew full well they're going to be trying to get back on their feet again, and they're going to probably have lost 50% of their musicians and things to other things.
Sure.
Probably some 25% of them are going to want to do something else, and the other 25% are going to just be like not able to come back for some reason.
Right.
So there's probably like a good 50%. Was
it what you expected, the actual experience of it, and what you wanted, and did you like that?
Yeah, do you know what, this honestly is like it's been one of those times in my life where, and I hope this continues obviously, where like I for once feel like a really solid feeling of like my life's improving. Yeah. Like I'm going forward. Like it's really definitely obvious now. It's like really, I'm really, sort of manifesting it physically. Like, wow, I'm actually traveling. I'm actually like standing on my own 2 feet just with my music. Like, and I'm actually enjoying the whole process. It's not this struggle, and I'm just loving life, really. Loving like working with the people on the ships and seeing all these different countries and performing to all these amazing people. That's the main thing. Oh, one moment. Hello.
Yours is ready now if you want it.
Okay, I'll come out in a bit. Okay.
Like literally 5 minutes.
So there's no rush. Yeah, totally. I'm loving it. The ships are amazing. and
that's great.
The experience is amazing. Yeah.
You're with, what agency are you with? Because I don't think we've talked about that.
So the current agency I'm with is called Sonic Artists.
Sonic Artists. So if you're, so let's just say, so basically, if you're someone who wants to get into this industry, which is getting back into it, you know, you do what you do, right? You look online, find age. There's tons of agencies online.
Yeah.
To kind of do this thing, and they're still looking, as far as I know. I don't know.
Totally. There's plenty out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I actually found most of them from the cruise line website. You go on their website.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, Royal Caribbean or something, and navigate yourself to like vacancies or something.
Yeah.
Just have a good old dig around their website. They're quite chunky websites usually.
Yeah.
And you'll find.
Yeah.
You'll find a small corner of that website where it says, for like music or entertainment act, we use this agency and this agency.
Yes. And can you, real quick, or it doesn't have to be quick, but can you walk us through the difference between, because you've told me before, there's a difference between, like, and it results in what kind of room you get and how you're treated, basically.
Yeah. But
like the type of artist is like a guest artist spot, and there's a different artist spot. Yeah,
totally. So there's firstly like musicians, I would say. They are sort of full crew position. So if you're crew, you have to do sort of in-port manning, I think it's called, is like the legal term. So you have a responsibility at certain ports, it's like on a rota, to stay on the ship and be a kind of safety person in case anything happens on the ship. You're like a responsible person.
Okay.
So that's called import manning. So you've got that duty, and there's obviously regular training that goes with that, and there's regular drills that goes with that as well. So
have you done that?
Well, no, because that's a musician position. So they would be in the orchestra,
right? Yeah.
Doing all the orchestra stuff. Those guys, and that's great. That's really great. And they get crew cabin. They normally share two per cabin, and that's great. But it does get better if you do. The thing I've been doing is what they call a guest artist, which is like P&O's sort of in-house version of an guest entertainer. So I board as crew, but I get more of like a guest entertainer style of contract where I get what they call deck privileges. So which means you can go in all the guest areas at any time. You can use the restaurants and all that stuff.
Awesome.
And I don't have any responsibilities as far as like the safety thing.
Like, you don't have to save anybody.
No, so I don't have to do like, there is minimal training for everyone, but I don't have to do the regular training. I don't have to do the regular drills. But I think on this last contract I did, it was like once per month I had to do one drill, which takes about an hour. Like sort of like on a Wednesday morning or about 10 o'clock kind of thing. They'll do this drill where you basically put your life jacket on and go to your muster station, and they count you, and then they go, thank you, you can go, sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
That's the extent. So it's a very different contract. You get your own cabin.
Awesome. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and sometimes I've done 4 P&O ships. I think 3 out of those 4 is being a guest cabin. There's only on the last one I did where it was actually a crew cabin, but it's still my own cabin, which makes a difference. So that's the difference there. But then the sort of thing that I'm going for next is what you said, the guest entertainer, which is they tend to be shorter contracts, which I didn't mention. I'll go over that in a moment as well. But a guest entertainer is you are a guest. You're not crew at all. So you board as a guest. They'll send you a guest pass, and you're treated 100% like a guest. And then you just so happen to be an entertainer as well. So you're, twice a week, you're going to get up and entertain in the theatre or like one of the big venues.
Yeah.
And so the difference there also is that you'll tend to be on for like 1 week, maybe 2 tops, if you're a guest entertainer. And then you're off maybe onto another ship or doing land gigs or whatever, because they tend to have a slightly higher profile. So we've had like they're like sort of like, I don't know, semi-celebrity types a lot. They're often off of like X Factor or Britain's Got Talent,
Right.
The Voice, those guys, you know.
That's cool.
So whereas like my sort of guest artist contract tends to be like several months, which is still on the shorter side for a ship. If you're like going in as a musician, it's going to be probably, you can get the shorter ones, but they tend to be more like 6 to 9 months, I would say. Something a bit longer.
I get that. Yeah. When I was I was with an agency called Lime Entertainment.
Yeah.
And I was gonna they offered me like a 4 to 6 month contract.
Yeah.
But I think that was more like a 5-6 day a night thing.
Yeah.
Like in one of their bars on the ship or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Where you got to know like 5 hours of covers or whatever each night or something. But do you prefer? I mean, you've done both, long or short. Like there must be like staying on the boat that long kind of almost scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
Freaked me out a little bit.
It did me. So when I was first offered that position that I mentioned on Virtuosa, they originally asked me if I could do 4 months. And I was like, I really wanted to do the ship thing, but I just couldn't imagine jumping in so deep kind of thing.
Right, of course, yeah.
So that's when they came back with like, just do a month. I was like, wow, okay, can't turn that down. But I think they wanted it bad kind of thing. They needed someone, so I don't think that's usual for them to come back and do that. So and
it's good money, by the way. Like
it is.
At least what I was because you're obviously you have no expenses, there's no travel or anything like that. So that's kind of how they hook you in with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you add up, the privileges, if you like, of like traveling and the accommodation and the food, the quality of that, and the entertainment, like you're on a world-class cruise ship going around the world. That's quite an expensive thing to do. Right. So you get all that, it's just, you just got to rock and do your work. But as far as I'm glad I've done the crew or the semi kind of crew thing where I've had access to like the crew area, the crew bar and all that stuff, which is really fun. And I've done the longer stints and they've been really fun. But for me, like where I'm sort of focused more is in going into like the guest entertainer shorter contracts now. That's really where I'd like to take it. And
you said those are 1 to 2 weeks, did you say?
Yeah, I'd say they tend to be 1 week. That's
not that. Yeah, that's not long at all. Yeah.
No, or if it's like most cruises are like 1 week, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks. You might, you'll be on for like the cruise, but most cruises are like 1 week really.
Interesting.
But if you're jumping on like maybe a longer one, like what I did on Piano Ventura earlier this year, was like the cruise length was like a month. I think one of them was about 40 nights or something, where we went across the Atlantic, around the Caribbean, and then back. And it can take like a week just to go across the Atlantic. So, that was like a month. I think if you went onto one of those as a guest ent, you'd probably be on for that whole time, like a month maybe. But
but you've now traveled all over the world, doing what you love.
Yeah, exactly, and it is amazing.
That's kind of amazing. Yeah, I was going to say. Anyway, we're almost done here, and we didn't even get into any of your music production or original music or anything like that, which I'll have to have you back on to talk about all that stuff.
We'll do a part 2.
We'll do part 2. So, you go under a different. Your artist name is different, correct?
It used to, actually it was, but actually I now go with my name, Bradley Osborne.
Okay, great.
Since the ships, because they...
Oh, okay.
Although I was going under a different name, as you know, and I went on with that name, but they just decided to go by my name. So, and now I'm like, let's not complicate this. Relinquish control.
I had I have had the exact same thing where I go, like, I'll do these weddings and private events and all that stuff. And when I was using a different name, that you as well thing that I was doing for a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, so people would ask me at those gigs, like, well, what's your artist name? And I would feel weird being like, it's not, it's you as well, like and then they're like, well, how do you spell that? And instead of like, why can't it just be the same? So then now it's all the same, just make it easier for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like it's a name, Bradley Osborne,
exactly.
It's just it's a name, but
it works very nicely, I think, with like the socials social media and everything, because you don't need like these double accounts and all this stuff.
Yes, double accounts, man.
Yeah, it's like, actually, this is who I am, and I'm learning to embrace that sort of authenticity. Although I've got a penchant, is that the word, for like conceptual things. Which is why I went with a different name, because I was like, it's not about me, it's about this thing I'm creating.
Yeah.
But
that's why I did mine too.
Yeah.
But you can make records like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
So like each project can be like, kind of, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything out under Bradley Osborne? Are you still working on stuff, or?
Pretty much still working on stuff. Like when I was going out under that other name, I did put some things out online, and I got some like radio play and stuff, local radio play, and that was quite fun. Did some interviews and things, and it was all good. But now I'm more sort of like, I'm not really putting things out at the moment. I'm more writing and getting things together before going down that journey of like putting stuff out.
Totally. Yeah. So Bradley Osborne soon. What was the other name of the band? Winter Kids? What was it called?
Yeah, Winter Kids. Yeah.
Winter Kids. Check them out everywhere you find music.
Yeah.
Well, man, we're going to have to get you back on. Hopefully when I have a better internet connection next time.
Nice.
And we got to talk about all that stuff, because hopefully you're coming out with some original music soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I know we're trying to get the TV and film writing stuff happening with we're in a 4-man group, and we're all over the world. So it's kind of hard to get, to get things nailed down. But thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, really.
Absolutely.
It's been a really nice chat. Thanks for having me.
Totally.
I keep tripping like I'm losing my mind. Keep feeling I'm losing control. Oh, lately. And it's getting harder. I never was the one to kill and fight. I know I'm bleeding and it shows this time. As if I'm dripping, I'd say my head's underwater. You see the horizon underwater, but I'm drowning. Keep slipping like I'm falling behind. You lose your patience, I'm losing my mind. Oh, lately I'm losing my armor. I never was the one to kill and fight. I know I'm bleeding and it shows this time. As if I'm dripping, I'd say my head's underwater. To a song at a time, it's no rhythm. It's got no rhyme, it's all wrong. There's no melody. You see the horizon underwater, but I'm drowning underwater.
Thanks for listening to Mad Sound Radio.